Hello. drums, and we'll do this one more time. So, because that's just how life is. It all unfolds with perfect timing, and however it needs to be is how it is. So again, I'll invite us to have a moment of stillness and quiet. And breathe in and allow everything to unfold exactly as it needs to, recognizing that this moment is all there is. So I take a deep breath of now, being fully present, allowing myself to still and focus in on truth, focus in on wholeness and oneness. Allow whatever distractions or ideas or preconceived thoughts about how it should be to just fall away. Just accepting all that is right here and now with utter perfection and wholeness. So I accept that. I'm so grateful for this time to behold all the beautiful expressions, to know that there is this one infinite loving power, this presence that unfolds and expresses itself as each of us in a beautiful, magnificent way. So I notice expressing through each of us as we come together tonight in this panel and speak on our experiences of parenting. It's singing its song through Gino, it's playing its music through Linda, and it's doing all the technical things it can do through all of our technology and through Bob, who's helping behind the scenes. So I'm just so grateful for this time. I know it unfolds perfectly. There's no other way it could be. So with that gratitude, I simply surrender and allow it to unfold with all the ease and grace and beauty that it needs to. And so it is.
It's appropriate for tonight. On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your evening outshines every star you feel part of, every mountain, sea, and shore, and you hear from far and near the words you've never heard before. On a clear day, on a clear day, we can see forever and ever. 1, 2, 3, 4 more. On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you see let's hope you heard it out there. It was fantastic in here. So tonight, let me introduce our panel, and forgive us, we're having some lovely gremlins tonight. So we're just gonna keep rolling with it. Most of you know this beautiful angel, one of our practitioners here at Universal Spirit Center. Liza Talbot is here.
Hello, everyone.
Get that mic a little closer.
Hello, everyone.
There we go. And this sweet angel, I met her, I guess maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Her daughter danced, Aisha danced on one of with Vernetta. We had a dance show, and her daughter, Aisha, did the dancing. This is Chantrice Posey. I have her microphone.
Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. And this handsome gentleman that braved to join the girls' panel. Yeah. This is Sarah Adams' father, and this is Christopher. I don't know your last name, Christopher. Is it Adams? I know you. Okay, thank you. All right, moving. Yeah. Adam Christopher.
Pardon? Hi.
Oh, you have a microphone. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, you guys don't mind sharing. They're father-daughter. And of course we know this sweet angel practitioner and, drum roll please, Reverend Sarah Adams.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
And that gave you a blessing twice, whether you know it or not, so that makes it even nicer. So I'm going to put this down, give this back to Chantrice, and we'll get the show on the road. Oh, well, let me ask you this first question. As parents, during the pandemic, what did you learn differently about your children?
I guess I'll go first. I think what I learned about my child is that she's an introvert, and homeschooling for her would probably not be the best choice. She's one of those kids who needs to have her friends with the connection, and I'm pretty sure she was bored being at home with mom for, what was it, 11 months, 10 months, 11 months. And actually, I think that she tolerated me as a mom. You know what I mean? I can't not picture being at home all day with my mom, much as I love her. And I think we grew to know a lot about each other. And I think it was a great experience for us, for sure.
Beautiful. Thank you. Liza?
Sure. I think for me, first thing that comes to mind is I learned about my son's taste in music, which I adore. Just the ways that they adapted. I didn't know they were so resilient. And Sadie's 10. She handled it like a champ. Her brother was in his room on his Zoom, and she was doing her thing independently. And I really was kind of nervous about it. Was she going to be able to handle it? Was she going to be able to focus and complete all her tasks? And she did, and he did too. We had some bumps in the road, but I really saw them from a perspective of strength that I hadn't seen before.
Nice. Christopher?
The thing for me was that, of course, I'm going to speak more from parenting, but the older parenting as a grandparent. Of course, Sarah has kids, so I have grandchildren.
Right.
So it's not only children, but grandchildren. And they're already college age, so it wasn't like they were little ones. But the thing I noticed is because of the limitations of the pandemic, we were all isolated, and the family connection there. And with Aislinn and Colin, we have a open air porch on the back. You know, it's just really afforded us an opportunity to get together. So I would have them over right here. So we would sort of have a Starbucks get together on the back porch. But that's the highlight. I remember that connectedness, because it was kind of rare. And so. No, I have to honor my daughter. Okay. I think that was it then.
I'll try. Okay, let's see. It's okay? Yeah. So, yeah, as Christopher mentioned, I have college-age kids. I think what I noticed, and this is indicative of other things that I've come to realize, is that each of my children has their own path, their own way of interacting and forming their life, and it's not necessarily how I did my life or how I see things all the time. And so, particularly for one of them, I had to just really recognize how it was for him and try to figure out how to support him. You know, what felt comfortable, how, you know, what level of comfort as far as leaving or being exposed to things. I got to appreciate how much he actually cares about others and really considers his impact on others and not wanting to make anyone sick or make his grandparents expose them to anything. The other thing I came to appreciate was how they are as the students. So now I got to actually see them do school, which I think probably a lot of parents got to. So I could see they both actually flourished. I can remember a conversation with Azzy, her actually like kind of evaluating her professors and kind of making a disparaging remarks on those who kind of just phoned it in and like just did a PowerPoint and no interactivity, versus like the other professors who were planned, like they would video their lectures ahead of time, send it to the kids, and then they could watch it, and then their time on Zoom was really interactive, and that really feeds her. So it was kind of like seeing how they could come to the awareness of how they are as a learner and advocate for themselves or engage the way that they need to. It was interesting to learn about them as a learner from like a backseat perspective. Yeah.
That's awesome. How has technology moved you, your kids forward? What are the plus for technology that you see? And I know, Christopher, this has to be a different thing with all of the technology. Watching your grandkids, were they helpful? Were you ahead of the game? Did you have your own iPad and you were teaching them?
The game. Sometimes I would call and leave a message for one of the grandkids, and their voicemail was all filled up. You know, they don't use voicemail even anymore. Right. So only text. So then you text, though, you get an immediate response. I go, whoa, geez, you know. So that was part of adapting. The other thing was kind of like doing like FaceTime or something like that. And so kind of getting the hang of that. But I think from my sharing earlier, I was interested in being connected, though. So that was the main thing. Mm-hmm. And so that means I kind of had to transition or learn or figure out how to do it. You know, how in the heck can I relate to these kids? Somehow I got to make a transition here. And so that was sort of my focus on that. So if I could figure out technology some way to do it or how they did it, and I could work with that, then I would do that. And but the point was that we would use it, which I think many people do, to maintain the connection. It was like a good thing then. It was a good substitute. Like in other areas of my life, I'm in a lot of like Zoom meetings and stuff, and it's not the same as a personal meeting, but it's a fairly good second, you know, and you do stay connected sometimes with people you wouldn't have because someone far away can be on a particular Zoom call. So we were talking about that with some friends the other day, positives to both sides of that.
Sure.
Anyway, thanks.
I think with my daughter, she literally transitioned to, doing online learning. She transitioned pretty seamlessly. And I think it's because they were already doing most of their work online and on the laptop anyways. It was just putting her in a different setting. And I'm pretty blessed that my kid, hello, where the mic? I lost my mic. Oh, there we are. She's one of those kids that can learn almost anywhere. You can sit her over here, sit her over there. She was schooling upstairs in our place, and I'm working downstairs. So when she needed me, Mom, I need help, and she would text me from upstairs. So, and I'd tell her, hey, I'm in a meeting. I'll get to you in 20 minutes, So I think for my generation, her generation, the technology was already there and in their hands, literally. So that for them was the normal. For us, we would pick up a corded phone. And, if you're lucky, you had a cordless phone and you'd make a call. But for that, just the screen time and, learning, the whole technology of it. Hey, can you hear me? Can you see me? I became professional lighting and sound just being at home, because you want to make sure you got the right lighting. You have on your work top, but you have on your pajama pants. So that was one of the things that was it was interesting to learn. It was definitely interesting, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It was already there for them. So for my kids, I think that the biggest thing, the biggest positive, we'll wait on that. Try again? Okay. There we go. Yeah, for the biggest positive, it would be keeping them connected to their friends when they couldn't be connected in person. My little girl is very social, and she needs her friends. And being able to play Roblox or whatever it was with a friend on the phone, and they could see each other, and they could talk and laugh and be in the game together, it made all the world of difference. That's really how we survived, and I kind of had to let go of the ideas about, too much screen time. Well, that's all we got right now, so that's what we're going with. And for him, he made friends across the world online and connected to resources, learned how to code some things, bought a computer system with the guidance of new friends. Like, there are resources out there. And I think that was a great takeaway from this, is that it's not just screen time, but it's connecting to resources that we don't have in our immediate,
I think for, I'll say, as a parent, I'll say, my son, I feel like technology is a good thing for, like you were saying, he actually likes researching and like diving into things. So he'll like research some topic. Like the other day, he brought up, he was researching the issues between Israel and the Gaza Strip and what was going on in the Middle East recently. But for himself, so he had access to all these different articles and sources of information. He also plays video games and has friends all over the place. So I think for him, it actually allows him to stay connected with his friends. So at some point, he went back up to Chico, where he goes to school, but he could still play video games with his buddy down the street, like it was nothing, like they were still in the same town. So I think it served a purpose, and it does help. And my daughter, too, she's very social, so it allows her to stay connected to everybody and caught up in all sorts of group chats. And I think even for our family, both sides, like I know their dad's side, there's a group chat, and there was like a weekly Zoom, and so there was ways to stay connected. And same thing with my side too. I think it has served. But I think I'll say as a principal, the fact that we did have online platforms already in place really helped. So like for my school as a charter, we were able to transition really quickly. Like we went home on a Friday, worked on redoing all the plans Monday and Tuesday, and then school was back, full day classes for everybody that Wednesday. But I know like a lot of the neighborhood district schools, it took like a month or two to get back on. So I felt lucky that way. And I noticed that some students do much better learning online. Like it was just for whatever their learning needs are, they actually were able to participate, feel safer and engaging. And then for other kids, it wasn't. I think particularly in the middle school ages, it was difficult. Like there were some kids who really struggled socially, emotionally. I think, because they're middle school, they're navigating like what's appropriate, how to engage. We had a whole lesson on like what is joking or teasing online, because what you say and what you think is funny may not be received that way. And so, I think it exacerbated those issues. But overall, it was a way to stay connected and for kids to learn, So I think it was a good thing.
I think that all of those points are really cool. So we get to the part where parents, kids, there was some agitation with the constant at-home, one-on-one, and for teachers, a whole different type of agitation because you're dealing with the parents. And also for grandparents, people constantly get judged on how they parent. Have you had that type of situation, and what did you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I kind of let go of the idea of limiting screen time and just kind of let them be. And the judgment came from that. And, I think it's about looking at what works best for your own family. I was at the office and I was at home sometimes, and the kids were there on their own. And it just worked for us in that way. There were positives, and we chose to focus on the positives of it. And part of that is being responsible and checking in with them at what they're looking at and their content. And, things come up and they're out of your control, but it's okay. It's all okay. And so when people came at me with judgment about it, the response is just, it works for us, and what works for you might be different, and thank you for your input,
I had a particular situation. My kid is a very mature 10-year-old. I am a single mom. We live in a great condo community. There are times where my kid is home alone. Okay? I don't know about you guys, but I was a latchkey kid. It was fine. We made it home. We checked in with our parents. We let them know we were there. And the whole neighborhood knew we were home. So when my kid was schooling, she didn't have school on Fridays. They would just check in for roll. And so occasionally a parent would say, hey, can my daughter go over and hang out with your kid? Yes, they can. But now I'm back in the office, so my kid is home alone on that day. So just know that it'll be those two home alone. Now, mind you, I'm doing screen time and video chatting with my kid throughout the whole day. And I had a parent that dropped her kid off, but then became uncomfortable at 4 or 5 o'clock when I wasn't home yet. I'm not comfortable leaving the kids home alone, and okay. But when you dropped your kid off, they were home alone. So for me, she says, how come you didn't call me and tell me you were going to be running late? Hey, I've been talking to my kid all day. You should have been talking to yours. So I can't tell you how to parent, but you can't tell me how to parent in my home either. So it's one of those things where I understand that my parenting style is different. Like I said, I'm 51 years old, the mother of a 10-year-old. I'm a single mom. I work every day, Monday through Friday. I got an honor roll student. I think she's a pretty good kid. I trust her. I trust my community. And I trust the parenting that I've done thus far. If you are uncomfortable with your parenting at this time, I think some parents put some of their experiences and life happenings onto their kid before they've even happened. And you develop a paranoia about it. And don't get me wrong, I'm worried about my child and her safety every day. But again, I trust that the things that I've taught my child thus far have equipped her with some skills to be able to be at home alone for a few hours a day. And you can judge me, and you can say that that's not your parenting style, and that's fine. Just know that we all parent different, and we all hope the best that our child becomes, right? And we put that on our parenting skills. If your kid didn't become the lawyer or the doctor that you hoped, what are you going to do? Beat yourself up as a parent? Or just be happy that your child didn't go to prison? You know what I mean? Isn't doing something outlandish as an adult. I mean, that's all we can hope for, right?
That's beautiful, well said. And listening to just the couple of you, it's hard not to feel that pressure from the outside, because everybody got an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion, and so I just honor each of you, because it's a whole different world from Christopher when you were raising little Sarah here, and to see how she raised her kids, and then the grandkids, and where we are today. So I'm gonna let you chime in, Sarah, but I just wanted to say that it's one of those things. Everybody always got opinions about what they think, and you love your children. That's one of the main things right there, is loving them.
Yeah. My experience or observation is that I feel like the parenting culture has changed over the last 10 or 20 years, especially from being in education and having it from that perspective. It does seem like there's people take their identity from what their kids are doing to a larger degree, so they feel like their kids are a representation of them. So any mistakes or there's just a lot of judgment about parenting, and so people, and there's a lot of fear too. So there's a lot more of in some parenting, like a lot more of overprotection. I wanted to make every little thing is controlled, every little thing is protected, which I don't necessarily think is good, because then students or children, my experience and observation is when there's too much of that, the students don't learn to be self-sufficient, they don't learn how to solve problems themselves or encounter hardship. And so then when something really happens that's hard, they don't feel equipped because they haven't had all these little minor problems to persevere through. In my experience, I see on the one hand, a lot more overprotection. On the other hand, I see a lot more anxiety and helplessness of students, or hopelessness. They don't have faith in themselves. So, yeah, that's been my observation. And even like for myself, like I felt the pressure, like especially encountering somebody else who was way more protective of their kids.
Yeah.
I felt shamed, like, oh, I don't care enough. That must seem like I don't care as much about my kids as they care about theirs.
Right.
And that's not true, but that's how it was perceived. So then it's like, oh, I guess I need to double check and triple check and run background checks. Or
But don't get me wrong. I am a very proud semi-helicopter mom. Okay? I do try to give her freedom. I definitely let her have her voice. Like some of the conversations that her and I have, I wouldn't have never had with my mom. Never. But I want her to be able to come to me, right?
Right.
As a mom. People say, oh my gosh, you and your daughter are so close. You guys are like besties. Yes, I'm going to keep her under this wing as long as I can. I mean, trust me, when I drop her off at school, I'm still trying to get a kiss. You know, I'm still trying to get that hug. And in front of your friends, I'm trying to get it. You know, and as long as it can last, I want it. I want it.
Christopher, I would love to hear what it was like raising little Sarah here. She's very sweet right now.
I do a story, and you know that the Sarah. Anyway,
I love you, Sarah.
You know. So there's a. Are you getting embarrassed already? Haven't you started? Well, this is really was about Sarah's sister Beth, who's no longer with us. But anyhow, this was the story. I think, you know, and as you know, her mother and I were divorced, and so when the kids were young, we were already kind of doing separate parenting. So I was being you know, a dad, you know, on my own, some of it, but we worked closely together. Anyhow, but I also then started taking parenting, like, how do you deal with difficult questions like sex, you know, as a dad, you know? No. Yeah. So I said, well, I'm trying to be, you know, innovative here, and I bought a book at the kids store. So I thought, well, this is good, and it was a good book, and it explained things in a nice, childlike way, and I thought it was really great. But at the time, the kids were in a conservative daycare school, Baptist school, and somehow, not to my knowledge, you know, Beth took this book and took it to school and spread it all over school and showed all her kid friends, and all of a sudden, ring, 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 and both her mom and I were in, and were kind of scolded, and why were we even talking about that to the kids? And so, you know, it was definitely kind of a taboo topic back then. And so, but I think the lesson for me out of that was that, because we kind of have a judgmental time even now, you know, about lifestyles, and the point was, which I think I was with the kids, was I've tried to remember relatedness before reaction. You know, related, you know, my love for you is more important. Like, there was a boundary crossed here, you know,
Yeah.
and you so anyway, and so, but I kind of handled that, but it was an idea of handling problems like that, and that was sort of the lesson, because there was a time where I was judgmental, and then there's a problem for me, like the way I was raised, and some of it was a judgmental, reactionary ways, and then I wound up learning that way, and through both, that, you know, I learned to express myself more and trying to undo that, so I don't translate as much. So life, it becomes a process of kind of doing, like, working on myself to kind of like undo things that I passed on that were passed on to me. And so that's really kind of in the background, the task of parenting, and I'm still doing it, you know. I'm still working on it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyhow, it was just funny about this whole thing about how do you handle, you know, mistakes or judgments or non-agreement from people about how you do your kids. And so I think the main thing is if the love of the child is present, more so than whatever the problem was, it can kind of carry the day. Or so that's my lesson. And I wasn't always great at that, but never mind that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it wasn't about me, right? So anyhow,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Did there ever come that day that you heard yourself say a phrase that your mom or dad said? And what was that phrase?
Knocking off the piano. It's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
So growing up, my dad's a retired Navy captain. My mom she worked for the Department of Defense. So our home was a very strict, organized, timely manner type home. When my mom said is what it is, and that's what it is, you don't question it. There were very few times my dad even questioned it. He'd say, go ask your mom. We'd go ask mom. Did you ask your dad? You know, we tried to play it. And then the thing I promised myself I would not do or say was because I said so. If you guys could see the look on my daughter's face right now. So here's the reason why. Because when a child asks you why, I believe that child deserves an answer.
Yes.
You may not have the time or the effort or the energy or the patience to answer in full detail why you're telling that child to do what you said right here, right now. But it's what I'm telling you. So when my daughter asked me the question, but why? Why? How come? Why? When? Where? Why? I try my best to actually give her an answer. And that's because as a child, I wanted an answer.
Right.
Because I said so does not fulfill my curiosity. It leaves me lingering on, okay, fine. You're just going to pull the control card. You know, you're just going to pull the mom card again. So for my kid, I try to have, again, with the communication, is to answer the question. Why? Like today, I told her, hey, when you get home from camp, get dressed, change clothes into the clothes. Why? Either you're going with me or you're not. No. And hey, remember I told you a couple of days ago I'm doing this thing with Gino, and it's today. So if you're going with me, change clothes. Oh, okay. You know,
Right.
it's not that hard. We can take a bit of our time to answer. You know, it's a little different than when we're at work and your boss tells you to do something. You can't just be like, why? Right? We just do it. Ask questions later. But I think that answering the child keeps the communication open.
Yeah.
It doesn't shut them down.
Yes.
And I think as a child, I was kind of shut down because I had a lot of questions.
Liza?
This is a tough one. My mom is always very positive, and things that she said that come to mind are things like don't give your power away, and just things like that.
Yeah.
Your attitude equals your altitude. All those things. And we need her. So for me, I didn't really get that, as a kid. I don't think any of that kind of clicked in for me until I was like 27. And I went, oh, that's what she meant. And she was right, But I do catch myself saying some of those things to my kids now. And at the same time, I remember my experience of it, and then I make sure to go back and give like an example of what that would look like. What would giving your power away to someone else look like? What would, changing your attitude look like? Just so they know how to apply it. But,
Yeah, I mean, it
nothing really
works.
negative.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be negative. It can be any comment that, you recognize at some point, because I've said certain things that my mom said to me, to my friends,
Right.
but it was just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
there's my mother.
Right. Right.
And so it works, all different ways. So that's, it doesn't matter if it's something that you want to hold on to or something you don't want to hold on to.
Right.
That's great. That's great. Sarah?
I have, I don't far away, so I've had that a couple times, and she was pretty positive. And Dad, but I remember we lived with my mom's parents for a while, and I remember maybe my grandmother saying, "You better not cry, or I'll give you something to cry about." So. There may have been a time when I was, where I was in an extreme state of frustration or agitation that may have slipped out of my mouth. But I tried to. I mean, like my dad was saying, like I eventually had the awareness that I needed to work on myself so that I wouldn't get to that point with my kids. But it's not always possible, we're human and we have our times where we're tired or I'm, had a long day or frustrated. So, but yeah, that has come out. But it also, like Dad is saying, your sayings like being related before reactionary or, yay for problems. Or,
What you said to me tonight.
Right, yeah. Or taking life on life's terms, yeah.
With all
Like-
the sound issues, Sarah said, yay for problems.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I have one. This when I was young, and there was 4 of us kids at 4 years, and we were squabbling and running around the house, and sometimes saying things, and sometimes kids can say mean things. Say, don't say anything at all. And I would say, I am never gonna do that. That's just a cover up for not being honest. And people have things to say, and they should be honest and say it to them and everything, And yet, when I grew up and was older and as an adult, and I don't know whether it was with my family or my siblings or something, there was kind of a disagreement, and I found up myself saying, if we can't say anything, we shouldn't really say anything at all. I kind of saw the wisdom of it too, like you were saying, you don't have to blurt out every, negative thought that you have. And so anyway, that was a good lesson for me to kind of, and like I think you were saying or intimating, you have more respect for your parents when you kind of get the point. Like, oh, my mom was really great. She was always kind of neutral and stuff, but she was clear in her support of us, and so I kind of really appreciated that.
Nice. That was fun. I would just say with one of my friends, I challenged my mother at every opportunity.
No.
That is so hard to believe.
And one of the things she would say to me all the time, Gino, if somebody else go run and jump off the cliff, are you going to go follow them? And I found myself one night, a friend of mine, we had gotten into a little confrontation about whether we should leave or not. And she wanted to follow the crowd, and which was, I don't even know why I did not want to follow the crowd, because normally I would have been in. And I said to her out loud, and everybody turned and looked at me, just because they're going to do that, you're going to run off the cliff with them? And everybody just stopped, and I thought, oh my God, I've turned into my mother. So what do you see are the new changes that are taking place in parenting? With everything in our country that's coming up, racism, sexism, just social economics, being able to really have a conversation with your children I would think right now it's very different to be able to have a conversation, be them adults, teenagers, or even little ones, because everything's different in the world right now. Where do you feel your role is in having that conversation with them?
Well, I think what's different is as I was growing up, I always thought my parents had all the answers, and they did. They always had a response for me when I asked a question. And right now, I have to admit, I don't have all the answers for them. This is new stuff coming into view for me and, for the world, even though it's been present forever. And I have to honestly tell my kids, I don't know the answer to that question, but let's find out together. I think that's the best, I can do.
Nice.
For me, again, I'm so open with communication in my house. We do this, and that's us either putting on our filter or taking it off. Either you're wearing an N95 or you're not. And the reason is because, don't get me wrong, of course I try to shield her from certain things going on in the world, and then, hand it to her as I feel it's age appropriate, right? But for my kid, like I said, she's very mature. I've always involved her in the voting process. She knows all the propositions, and sometimes she's schooling me on them. As far as the racism and injustices that particularly happened in the last year or so, I try to make sure I educate her. I educate her in her ethnicity and that background, and as well as others. Unfortunately, she isn't blessed with being able to have traveled the world like I did and see so many different cultures and ethnicities and how they live and how things are different. But I keep her realm of friends so open. Friends are the ones that treat you good. It's not the color of their skin. It's not how tall or how short they are. And the same thing, all the way around, all the way down to what you eat every day. It's your choice. I gotta give her her choice. I don't want to shield her too much, but of course I want to guide her. So I think that's a little bit different, my parents just kind of put it there, and this were your choices.
Right.
It wasn't until I went off to college that I realized I don't have to, turn my signal light on 200 yards. You know what I mean? It's as small as something like that, but it was one of those things where, oh my gosh, I can come home after 1 a.m. if that's what I want to do. But that also comes with the independency that my parents gave me in raising me, and I also want to give that to her. So I think that's one of the things that is different, that I keep the playing field open for her. If there's a right and wrong, we'll figure it out, and that's kind of how we roll.
Nice.
You see, I think that's probably kind of fun.
Did you find the sweet spot again? No.
Maybe now? Okay.
there we go.
All right. Let's see. So, what's new for parenting? I think in some regards, there's more acceptance or allowance for kids to be who they are. There's even a recognition that kids are different and they have their own unique path that I don't think was necessarily the case in generations past. So I know for me, it took a little while for me to recognize that, but that each of my kids had their own personality, and that's their own gifts and their own path, and it wasn't for me to try to squash that or change it. So in some regards, I still wish, sometimes like they would have reacted to something different, but, with every challenge or situation we encountered, I usually tried to point out that each person involved, there was a story behind that. So even if they were acting like a jerk, there was a story behind that. Like there was a reason, not that they could needed to allow themselves to be mistreated, but to have some empathy or understanding. Like all these different situations and kids in their circle had different stories and backgrounds that made them who they are. So I think that was something I tried to leave them with. And I see more of that. And certainly, like as a principal, in terms of kids' identities, there's a lot wider spectrum of what is normal or what's acceptable. Like it's even just gender and crushes. Like in the last 5 or 7 years, I've seen like middle schoolers go to where they'll have like a girl could have a crush on a girl or a boy, and it's very fluid and very normal for everybody, and there isn't a lot of judgment about that. Nice. And then also just seeing like kids choose their pronouns, or kids choose what they want to wear and how they want to express themselves and what gender identity they feel expresses themselves best. So I see that there is kind of a greater acceptance and allowance, not in every family, right, but I think certainly you see a little bit more of it in the general population. So I appreciate that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that the awareness of social issues now has gotten so prevalent. It's more than prevalent. It's like so in your face now. Yes. If you were in denial or something about it now, it's very hard to get around that. You have to be completely in denial to not want to say there's something going on there. And so that means that there's more and more questions. So like, well, why is that? Or what's going on? Or how do you explain that? Or I didn't think that was right, or whatever, Right. So that part for me has taken work to kind of like get more present to the situations, and just I guess I would say the wholeness or goodness of a person regardless of whatever their circumstances are. Because I was raised in a pretty like a monoculture almost, But then, our family just went berserk. I mean, just completely, like when I was young, we had cousins, and his father died or had a mental problem, so his mom remarried, and their family was Jewish. So all of a sudden we had Jewish family, and they had proclaimed too that their family integrated, so there was brothers the same age, but they said they were brothers, and you could never say they were stepbrothers. It was like one family, so we could never say we had separate cousins or anything. We had one set of cousins, and that was it. Yeah. Even though some were Jewish, we never even knew what Jewish people were, But then my sister, in her college, she converted to Islam, and then she married an Arab person, and they were and raised Muslim. Yes. So, and my nieces and nephews still are Muslim and wear the hijab and like that. Yeah. So that was another set to get used to. But then my other sister married a black man from Africa, and so
you guys did go all around the world.
I was about to say, look at him saying words like hijab.
My other nieces and nephews are all biracial now, and so that the whole thing about seeing people's humanity first is kind of the lesson, and I think it's a lesson for me, but I think it's a lesson for the culture. Yes. We might have thought we were kind of a homogeneous culture in the past, or everything's all the same, we're all a democracy. But now we're seeing like, well, yeah, maybe that's true, but you got to like work a little bit to actually bring that to fruition. You know, you got to like really work and accept people and be kind to people. You know, you can't just say it was that way. You actually got to work, or else it's going to kind of blow up in your face. You know, so.
I mean, you can say that until it happens in your family, right?
Oh yeah.
And then you have to, because now it's family.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it's right here in your bloodline. You know what I mean? Like you said, you wouldn't love those grandkids any differently. You know, and
Well,
again,
you would hope
it,
not.
it becomes, yeah, you would hope not. No, we've seen some that
Yeah.
have, yeah. I've seen, you know, some families that will totally disown a whole generation, you know, instead of using that time for self-awareness.
Liza, it looked like you were ready to say something to add on there. Oh, you were just moving
I
the
was
mic.
Nope. I was just
Ooh.
listening.
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. Wow. We're out of time. So let me just ask a closing question. First off, let me thank each of you for being here and really holding such a trooper face through all of these sound gremlins and all these yay for the problems. These
Yeah.
these beautiful problems. So, where you are right now as a parent, what do you see as the best gift that you can give your children? Why y'all look at me like that?
I can start.
All right.
Well, I think the best gift, especially for me as an older parent or something, is to like be a good example. You know, so mine is like I'm always like working on myself, you know, and so I think that's what I would rather pass on. Not that I have a great answer, but I'm always like kind of working to discover more within myself and share that, rather than that I have some great answer or wisdom to tell you what to do. You know, why don't I kind of share what I'm working on and hopefully my kids and grandkids and all that would look like, yeah, because I kind of expect the same thing. Well, get to work, you know. Anyway, that's it.
I like it. Very good.
Yeah.
Next.
I think for me, it's authenticity. We were thinking about, you know, the mom face that we put on. And I was thinking, I'm not so good at the mom face. I'm not. My emotions come out, and I have my ups and downs, and I am always just open with my kids about it. And I think that they have been able to embrace their own emotions as a result. You know, they approach it differently, knowing that it's all okay. Whatever they're feeling, whatever they need to express in the moment is fine. That if they have a blow up, okay, sorry, I messed up. And let me go back and let's talk about it. Let's talk about why that happened. Let's talk about maybe a different approach next time, what we can do. But I see in them forgiveness for self and others. I see in them an awareness of other people's feelings and just a different response, a compassionate and loving response to me and to others, and I think it's helped them to build an understanding of the human condition. You know, we're all human.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Okay. So I think what I think I'm doing as a parent, for one, because there's no book for that one. I think that I hope that I'm giving her the knowledge of get her done. And that's really the bottom line. Like, you know what I mean? There's a task, it needs to be done. Get her done.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, you see this as a problem, put it right there, solve it. Because, I mean, like I said, as a single mom, you can look around. Nobody else here but you and I. Either you're doing the dishes or I'm doing the dishes. Get her done. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I'm trying to leave her with, is the get her done mentality. Get up, make it happen every day.
Beautiful. Thank you. Sarah?
Well, I think probably just a combination of all those. I think, being self-reflective and being able to reflect on what's going on and what can I learn from. Because, yeah, certainly my parents shared their own path of growth as I was growing up, so I got to see that and then accept that as like normal and how I should live life too. So I have done that, I think, in some degree with my kids, but also being loving and accepting, and then persevering. I think it's important, to have challenges to go through and allow them to work at that. So I think they both, they're both finishing college. So I think they've both grown into like knowing who they are and being able to choose their own path and pursue that. Just be, it's true. So, but I think they're just good humans too, and I appreciate that. So, however, the thing that I will say finally, though, it's not just me. I really do think it's a village, and so being a single parent, like having good friends and other community members that reflected back to them, really made a difference. I really do think that. So.
Wow. Beautiful. Well, that was super awesome. It sounds like all of these parents up here really like their children. Believe it or not, some parents do not. And I was blessed. My mom really liked me, and my dad kind of, sort of. But as we are over time, you can always find out what's happening at Universal Spirit Center on our website. That is also where you can find ways to give to this community that constantly keeps giving to the world. I want to thank you all, and come back. We're having some little sound things, but through my phone, you guys sound amazing. It sounded great on my phone. So just know that right where you are, we are thankful for you. We are absolutely living this divine journey together. And as these parents have expressed their love, their guidance, there is a divine Mother, Father, God, nature that is guiding each and every one of us on our journey, on our path. So I thank you. I will see you next week on Kitchen Conversations. We have a wonderful panel, a transgender panel. It'll be really powerful. And just a reminder, we are open so you can come in person and check us out. Sunday, the 27th. June is the month of soul food. And so Sunday on the 27th, we're going to Louisiana Purchase. It's Black owned. It's right down the street. If you want to join in, you can RSVP on our webpage. Thank you, and thank you. Yeah, so we're out. We are out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.